In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to make this crossover basket solitaire. It looks quite complicated, but it's a lot easier than it looks. Check it out. I'm using a strip of round silver wire that's 1.3mm thick and it's 10 centimeters long. And I've got a strip of silver here that's 1.5mm thick by 3.3mm wide. And it's still slightly too big. I can still see the bezel around it, so I'm going to squeeze it down a little bit more to mark out 4 even points side. I'll go over those cuts with my 3 square file. In the third hand, I'm just going to freehand put the claws on. I've got my solder pick with a blob of flux there that I'll just dip the claw into first. Bed in properly. Okay, that's bed up. Make sure to tap it both sides and then hammer it back to the same thickness, and then you can tap the sides again. So as you do that, it thickens the metal again. Mandrel, and then just bring it round. Now, if you've nominated a size for this, then have your ring stick ready and make sure it's a couple of sizes smaller, because then you can tap it up. See, my shoulders aren't lining up yet. So get it closer onto my mandrel using my nylon pliers, and then I'm just going to bend him up a little bit. Check that out. Pliers, I'll just bend the shoulders into a better shape. Of course, I'll have the setting to work with shortly once I've bent this into the shape a little bit. I'll do the final shaping later on, but I'm just going to tidy it up before I start working on the setting again. One going that way like that, and then the other one going the other way, and make sure that I get them the opposite way around when I turn it that way. So this one is going to go on the outside of this wire. Now you can see it's starting to take shape. Just try and tighten it up at this point here as well. So I'm just using my pliers just to squeeze the wires up a little bit. there again, I'll shorten them to the right length once I've got a better fit. So this one's just pulled itself out of shape as well, so just bend that round. Under rail. And this might pull the wires out a little bit here, so if that's the case, tighten it back up. I'm just going to use my round pliers to do that. I'm trying to be as gentle as possible. I don't want to put too many tool marks on. Everything I've done so far is light enough to just come off with emery paper. It's on the shoulder, just on the rail there, so it's nice and flush. So I can see from that angle that I need to file, or keep filing until I get to a point. I'll do that on both sides, and then I'm going to emery clean the inside here, because once it's soldered together it's going to be too hard to get to. Now it's fitting better there, but I've got the wrong angle on the other side, so I'll just change that. And now it's fitting on a little bit better there, but when I place the setting in straight I can see. And what I need to do on the inside there is just file a slight curve so that it fits the bezel better. Solder pre-cut here, and first thing I'll do is I'll just solder the one shoulder onto the setting. And once the solder just starts to melt into the joint, now I'll stop. I'll check that nothing's moved around. Now I've got to try and create a nice round shape there where the two parts meet together. And it requires me to be a little bit forceful, but and now just above the top of the bezel, so you see the cut there. What I can see is it's not quite level, so I need to just turn my burr slightly to make sure it's straight. So the angle I'm holding it is quite difficult to see if it's. You can use a smaller heart burr than this, a bit more cutting. So that the top of the burr starts cutting the top of the seating. That's probably all it needs. The one next to it needs a little bit more cutting as well. On the inside edge there, I'll just give it a push with my brass pusher and just make sure the girdles nicely into the space that I created, into a V there. So I'll just grip the claw and As I'm pushing each time, I'm just looking to make sure that the stone is level, making sure that there's no gap between the girdle of the stone and the side of the claw, table of the stone. What I'm doing is I'm just rocking and rolling it around the claw, and you'll see it start to burnish itself onto the stone. The metal moves itself onto the stone. You can get it till it's actually in contact. So there, side view again, that won't catch on any. This will also close any gaps if there are any gaps there and around the edge of the claw. So you can pick it off with a flat graver, just make sure there's no little burrs around the edges there. Just a light emery around the back of the claws, polish and you're done.